Hello and welcome, everyone. My name is Fritz Copes. I am here on Seal of Insight. So, Seal of Insight is a new Riftbound TCG podcast. We're focusing on the competitive game as opposed to a little bit more broad. I come from Yu-Gi-Oh. I played a lot of competitive Yu-Gi-Oh. I'm maybe an average player, maybe a little bit above average. Not any
About average.
huge results. But I am joined here with my friend and co-host, Aaron McInnes. If you want to introduce yourself.
How's it going? My name is Aaron. I've been playing competitive Yu-Gi-Oh for about a decade, a little over now. Got into Riftbound pretty quickly once Houston got announced. I've been loving the game so much. I played League over the course of my life, and it's really nice to be able to blend the two passions of a fantastic card game with some IP that I'm able to understand. So I'm looking forward to getting into the scene, hopefully accomplishing some goals and having a great time.
Yeah, and you have a YouTube channel, right? You want to shout that out real
Yeah,
quick?
sure. It's just Aaron McInnes Riftbound. I may change the name at some point just because I'm not known in Riftbound, so I don't think my name is a draw. I do a fair amount of gameplay review at the moment. We have a tier list discussion, which we're gonna review and kind of update a little bit. It's gonna be a lot of just like I've been playing the Rifts and Runes ranked ladder, so a lot of that. I do some in-person locals matches as well. So as we get closer to set two and there's more in-person stuff, I'll post some more of that. But yeah, in the meantime, I'm just gonna be online gameplay review, maybe some discussions about set two, and yeah, I'm enjoying the content grind.
Yeah, I mean the game's really fun. I was totally surprised, by the way. So I got into this Riftbound game. I got kind of coerced into playing it. Not really coerced, but like I wasn't super enthused. I heard about this Riot card game that was coming out, and I saw the early pictures of the cards, and I was like, this looks awful. And then I
Yeah,
actually went
it
and
got better
started
over time
playing
for
it, and
sure.
it was just incredible. Like they did such a good job.
Mhm.
So, but
Yeah, this game is very like great IP. It fixes a lot of the issues that I have with other card games with like having a separate mana deck, and it kind of caps the strength of aggro by having the point adjustment rule where you have to conquer two in the same turn or defend. So you have to be like in control of the game. So it fixes a lot of like the core issues that I have with a lot of different TCGs. Yu-Gi-Oh is a completely different beast, but like that's kind of why I've stuck to Yu-Gi-Oh compared to some other games out there. So I'm really enjoying
mhm.
the depth of Riftbound.
Yeah, it's cool because it kind of bridges the gap, right? Because you have the people who come from like Pokemon and stuff who really enjoy how the decks are very flavorful, right? Like you're playing your favorite Pokemon and you are like building up that Pokemon. It's the centerpiece of your strategy. But then you also have and the a lot of the competitive depth of Yu-Gi-Oh, where it's like a lot of interactions and a lot of planning ahead. So, but anyways, so that just little intro there. So our first topic for today is we wanted to talk about the Spiritforged meta. So we're just coming out of Origins set one, and I mean I'm sure everyone has had a lot of time with the sets, and we're kind of aware where the metagame is. Kaisa, Annie up there with these Aurora variants taking a lot of metagame share as well, and then maybe some tier two stuff that still has options like Victor. Hey, like Victor and other decks. But the cool stuff is Spirit Forge, and we're what, like a month away, I think?
Around there, yeah.
Yeah, so do you have any early thoughts on Spirit Forge? Obviously, there have been some online tournaments, and I know you've done a lot of playtesting.
Yeah, I was top five at one point in the Rifts and Runes leader, and then I went on a bit of a tilt streak. So not top five anymore. Yeah, I played a fair amount of Draven. I spent a decent amount of time on Kaisa. I played a bit of Victor. Those are like the three decks that I have played the most just over the course of like set one and now set two. Um, those are all three very high impact, like meta defining decks. I think set two adds a lot of depth to the game. Like before, obviously in set one, like there just weren't really 40 good cards to put in a lot of decks. So you kind of mismatched everything, and now you have a lot of different options. You can now like pick different leaders and color combinations. Like you can argue like Fiora or Set, or now you can argue Annie or Draven in red purple. Like you're not just kind of oh this Yi deck is now substantially the best green orange. So now like we're getting a little bit more diversity in the meta, which I think is going to be interesting to see how, like you said, in Pokemon, you've got like these uh like Pokemon that are like identified the strategy decks, and now we're going to see how the same color combinations kind of adjust to the leaders' origins and strengths.
Yeah, because one of the interesting things here is that we finally feel like we actually have multiple leaders of the same color that just aren't the same game plan. Like
Mhm.
with Annie, for instance, versus Draven, sure, they're both red purple, but Annie is more like I'm holding tricks for your opponent's turn and getting to be very rune efficient, whereas Draven is like, I just want to fight. And I mean, we can get into
Mhm.
Draven in a bit, but it's kind of interesting that we finally are seeing some of that. Um, but yeah, so online tournaments and some of the early Chinese tournaments, it looks like Draven's kind of dominating. And I personally, I guess I didn't mention this in my intro, but I am a caster for Runes and Rift. I've done, I think, Runes and Rifts 2 through 7 or something. I'm not quite sure, but really looking forward to hopefully getting into the physical TCG casting, but it's kind of hard. But anyways, the results that we've seen is Draven has really been dominating. Like Draven is kind of sweeping. Uh, there have been some other decks that have seen a little bit of success, especially after the early weeks where people were really hyper focused on the Draven deck, and they're like, "This is just the best thing." And we're kind of at that middle point where people are experimenting now. They're like, "Is there anything that can compete with Draven?" And I know you've played a fair bit of Draven, so what are your thoughts
Mhm.
on this?
The Draven deck is very good. I'll say in the discussion of like why like you may think it's the best deck, China has kind of just like given examples. There's a couple different websites you may be able to link down in the description of that can just give you context as to why everyone identifies Draven as the best deck. I think there were like 11 city championships last weekend, and it won like 9 of the 11. So the deck is very strong. If you just like read the card and then compare it to a card like Ezreal in the same set, Draven doesn't have a once per turn restriction on it or like a once per combat restriction. It's just like a very above average card in terms of like the card like quality of Riftbound. It stands above the rest in terms of its leader ability of just being above
Mm-hmm.
average. So that is a bit unfortunate. Like red purple is already a strong color, and now we just have this like really strong color
Mm-hmm.
combination and a really strong champion that just like take advantage of I'll say a broken mechanic. Like we can get into a bit of a discussion about like whether the rules should change around it or whether Draven should get a red. Like I think there's a couple different things they can do, but you're in a very good color combo. You're able to like fight or flight and go like neutral and card economy. When in the any deck you were going -1, which was like an issue of that deck, is eventually you did kind of run out of cards. So yeah, it's just very above average in terms of like red and purple being I think the best colors in Riftbound right now. So it has a lot of good things going for it.
Yeah, and we're definitely going to dive a little bit into the Draven discussion right after this, but there are a few other cool leaders that are coming out. I particularly like the Aurelia leader. It's actually a lot like Yasuo, and it is kind of the first Voltron style deck we've had in Riftbound where you take this one unit, you stack everything on it, and you say you can't out this card, and every time you try and out it, I'm going to win that trade, and you're just wasting cards. And I say it's the first. I guess it really wasn't, because there was the Protect the President Lee Sin deck that wasn't very good, but it did exist. You'd play like
Yeah.
Zonias, you'd put this, I think it was the green Lee Sin, but yeah, not very good. um, so there's the Aurelia, there's I believe the Lucian deck seems pretty decent. More
Seemed
of an
interesting. I like Rek'Sai. The
Mhm.
deck's neat at a minimum.
Yeah, and I think one of the more interesting ones for both of us, because we both messed with this, and it's not a new deck. It is kind of a new deck, but the Spell Victor deck. I think that deck's really
Yes.
cool.
Um, cool is one way to describe it. Like I like Victor in set one. It's just like an interesting like token, similar to like a Paladin deck in Hearthstone. Like I really enjoy the playstyle. It has a lot of different options in terms of you can go removal, you can go wide, and just kind of like adjust the strategy to what you kind of perceive your local meta to be or like what the tournament to be. Obviously when Kai's is a very good deck, it's kind of hard to adjust. It just is what it is. Like removal is going to perform well into the unit deck. It's not much to argue there. Um, so in set two, it kind of fixes the problem of like not going wide, you just like play a unit every turn off of your leader, and then just like try to clear every unit that your opponent plays. So it is now a very different strategy. Is it like just like the most control you can build in a deck in my eyes. Like it's like the Ari deck from last format where you kind of like protect points and like win in combat. This deck does it even better because it just like removes the units entirely, and there's no like combat tricks that can kind of cheat you out of it. So the deck is very strong. It fixes a lot of the issues that you may perceive in Draven. Is like oh, I'm just gonna win all these combats, and Victor's like, I'm gonna remove your unit, and then there's no combat. So it definitely bypasses some of the potential strengths of that deck. And then there's all some neat stuff that we've seen floating around in the deck where people are playing Vanguard Armory, some people are adding in like Watchers and Xin so there's definitely plenty of room for adjustments in the Victor deck. I think it's going to be a very strong contender in set two. What are your thoughts on it?
I mean, I think it's really cool. Anybody who knows me from Yu-Gi-Oh knows I love control decks. I love it when my opponent doesn't get to play, and I love these very grindy decks, and this is kind of perfect for me. That being said, we don't really have grindy decks in Riftbound just by the way the game works. Like it, because there's a finite number of points, and you cannot score like half of a point. And as at least right now, there's no way to remove points. Like you are always progressing towards that, and a single token is scoring just as well as a 20 might volley bear, right? So
Yeah.
there's only so slow you can go, right? But yeah, so me and Aaron actually did a tier list discussion of the set two, some of the set two leaders and stuff that is on his YouTube, which I'll put a link to in the description. And I will give you guys a quick glance at, here, let me, so at the tier list. And we did have some thoughts, and this was ours, right? Okay, yeah, because we
Yeah, this
have
was the ending of it.
because we
Yeah,
have
we can tell it's ours because of where Yasuo got placed.
I love Yasuo. Yasuo is so cool. But yeah, most people probably would not have him here. But just as a little quick spoiler, this is kind of our general early thoughts. Things have changed a little bit. Is there anything immediately you would change on this after playing for what? This was like a week ago, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, probably a week and a half. Yasuo is definitely not A tier. Me and him were in a call one night playing a bit of it. Stellar Corn Hoarder is a very good card, but some of the cards, like two power every turn, is way too expensive to really play. Like just for like that leader ability, like being able to pay the power is substantially easier.
Yeah.
Um, I Misfortune Aurora, I haven't actually put any time into. I think that placement's probably pretty accurate. I think Annie is probably a step below. It's definitely an A. I think Heist is also probably an A. I think it just has a little bit too rough of a matchup into other top tier decks like Victor and Aurelia.
Hmm.
I think Draven probably stands alone in S. I think Aurelia is probably the closest to it in terms of power level across the board. Um, Otherwise, I think this is all like relatively appropriate. Like, I'm really curious to see like the aggro decks we kind of have in the B tier, like how those shake out. I've heard Fiora has seen some adjustments. I've played against a decent amount of Ezreal, so I'm kind of interested in seeing how those lists finalize. I'm not convinced that they're going to be anything format defining, but they may have some niche interactions into the meta that make them overperform compared to our early expectations.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. So I will drop a link to this in the description. Go check it out. Sub the Aaron's channel if you want more kind of content like that. So segueing right into our next topic for discussion, the so-called Draven problem. And as this is so aptly put on Twitter by Vero TCG, Riftbound needs to address its Draven problem. It's not that it's too strong. The problem is similar to Set 1 Kaisa, and it invalidates combat-based strategy and creates a negative play experience for those doing those type of strategies. So we've talked about this a fair bit, and we've alluded to this in our earlier talk in this episode. There's a lot of talk going around about not just changing or not actually doing any actual erratas to cards or banning cards or anything, but simply changing the rules of the game. And that's something that they've been doing already. Is the rules have been pretty in flux. They've been fixing things, and it's generally been a good thing. They've been making the game better. One suggestion I've seen floating around in Twitter, and it's kind of in this thread as well, is that they should go ahead and change the rules of the game so that you do not win a combat unless combat damage is dealt. Because right now, what happens with Draven is you shove up a unit, and then Draven says, I'm going to flight or fight your unit, and you win a showdown against no units, and you still get a draw. And by changing the rules on this, that combat damage actually has to be dealt, this makes it a little bit more fair. It's still a very powerful card. Don't get me wrong, but it would be a little bit more fair. So do you have any thoughts on this?
if this is how the game is designed to be played, I can't really think of any other interactions as to where this kind of matters, where like combat is initiated, and like obviously it matters, I guess, for like the Draven unit. So, but it is all kind of centered around this deck. Like there aren't really other decks that I'm aware of where initiating combat and then leaving it like really changes things. So like if they wanted to like quote unquote fix the Draven deck and change the least amount of the game, I think you just add an errata to the Draven leader that just says tap whenever you draw. I think that's very reasonable and puts it in line with a lot of other of the strong meta decks. Um, but if this, like, I also don't hate this gameplay where you are forced to actually do combat. Like, I think that's also fine. Honestly, I think there's a lot of different things they could do. I'm kind of content with any of them. Like I said, I can't think of any other situations where the combat mechanic of like fight or flight, removing it, changes too much outside of the Draven deck. So if that needs to be fixed for future game mechanics that I'm unaware of, then do it that way. And if this is kind of central to the Draven deck, then we can just like change the Draven tap to like a leader, the leader to a tap, and then it like all kind of bounces out. Whatever is the healthiest for the long term of the game, I'm cool with. But I do think something needs to change just to kind of balance the playing field a little bit more.
And yeah, what is kind of interesting here uh, is that the like it just doesn't seem intended, right? Like there's no way that they printed this card and did not say this is crazy that this card can potentially be drawing like 4 cards across 2 turns, right? Like 2 on my turn and then I fight or flight you and then rebuke you on your opponent's turn. Like that doesn't seem
Yeah.
intended when you have cards in the same set like Ezreal that are drawing, like you said, 1 card conditionally across 2 turns. Like it just doesn't
Yeah.
seem intended, right? Like uh, there's smart people. They've got people on the development team who have worked on other TCGs. Like it just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I think like I don't I can give no like context to this, but like in my head, this makes the most sense in like maybe a red green deck where they're trying to like actually initiate combat, and like green is like the counterspell deck and like the buff deck, and red again is like the assault, the aggressive, like we're trying to score points. But now that it is red purple, like this color combination really incentivizes like aggression and combat tricks to like kind of avoid actually resolving the battle. So you either get to aggressively swing over or prevent it from happening altogether. And all that, like either way, like I think it's like obviously it just has compounded into a very very strong leader that is uh uh not identifying but like defining set two.
Yeah, you can in this post it's put pretty well. It's that the red side makes the combat hard to win, and then the purple side makes the combat hard to even resolve. So
Yeah,
definitely
you
seems
win or you don't resolve it. Yeah.
yeah. And so it's like okay, I've invested my buffs into my unit so I can actually win, and then they just say okay, and have a fight or flight, and I draw.
Yeah,
Like
it's really frustrating. Like you play like let's say, theoretically say like Aurelia or like a deck that doesn't even have that type of stuff like Sivir, where like you don't even have the counter spells. You're like, okay, put punch first on my guy, and you're like, okay, fight or flight. You just went -2 in runes and whatever. Like that just entire interaction seems. I mean, Adam, like I've played it. It's extremely frustrating to be on both sides of it. So there's not too much you can do under the current like build of the deck.
okay, and one of the more weird things I think about this whole situation is that in set 2 they gave purple a counterspell. So not only do you have to deal with all the tricks and the combat, you have to deal with the counterspell. And if anybody has been watching Runes and Rift, the counterspell usage in Draven has just gone up. Like originally in some of the early lists, people weren't playing it; they were even just siding it. But I've seen it in the main deck in most of the lists now, and it's just such high value because you can just leave up a few runes, and if your opponent wants to win a combat, they are often forced to use their own tricks, and then you can just say, okay, now I use my counter spell, and if you want your combat to resolve, you're essentially going to have to tap out because if you want your combat to resolve because of how the purple counter spell works. And then at that point, that makes it coming back to my turn is entirely free because you have nothing. You're forced to either use your power to hide cards, in which case, I mean, it's pretty telegraphed generally what the purple hidden cards are. You have like Fight or Flight, you have Switcheroo, the Tide Turner, and that's like kind of it. There might be one more that I'm forgetting, but you don't have to worry about rebukes or anything like that. So just
Yeah. I mean,
very
we've seen like the adjustment of like bring your Thundersong in like the main and side deck. Like the meta is now defined by kind of like these combat tricks and how to play around them. And a deck like Aurelia is getting caught in the crossfire. Like Thundersong is an above average card in that matchup as well. So now like this is why a deck like Victor or just like these hard removal Kaisa decks are gonna start thriving. Is they're like, okay, like I could like leave up mana for Voidseeker, or I could just like a Cathian Rain Singularity, whatever, like Vengeance, just like wipe your board and then just like, okay, now you don't have anything to play with. Now we just like start playing. And the whole point of the game, which is combat and combat tricks, not the whole point, but like I think one of the things that is defining of this game, or what they're trying to push, is like the battle at the rifts or like whatever, like in each lane. And at like the kind of like sequence that we've gone in terms of just how the card design is working and how powerful Draven is, we're pretty much minimizing that. Like a lot of the Draven decks I see don't even play cards like Cleave and Blood Rush anymore, just because why would you do that when you're not even gonna like resolve a combat? You're just gonna push away. So you're gonna get pushed away yourself. It's
yeah
hard to really fix.
yeah it's pretty strong. I guess we'll see in the upcoming few weeks because Spiritforge is coming up, and I believe we have, is it Vegas or Bologna that is the week after the release? It's Vegas, right?
Bologna is the 21st, 22nd around that time, and then Vegas is the week after.
Okay, so it's Bologna first. But yeah, so we are going to have an event essentially the week after release, which is crazy. And hopefully we do see some sort of acknowledgement of this before then. Otherwise, I mean, it's just going to be a similar situation to set one where we have Kaisa seemingly in the dominant position. That being said, it didn't end up really being that way. I feel like Draven is better than Kaisa was in set one, as it has a better matchup spread where Kaisa has some, not auto losses, but some hard matchups with like the Aurora decks and such, where Draven doesn't really have that issue. So, but anyways,
Yeah, I
so
mean,
oh
you
yeah,
get Rebuke, Fight or Flight. Like Draven can just kind of cheat its way through most matchups.
mm-hmm, for sure, for sure. Okay, so next topic we're going to talk about is we were going to talk about the updated time rules. So for anybody unaware, so China is starting a new time rule, and so the current time rules are 50 minutes, and then you get 5 turns going back and forth. So my turn is turn 0, turn 1, turn 3, etc. And then I believe it was if you were ahead in points, you won after the turns were over. Is that correct, Aaron?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So what they're trying, and we don't have confirmation that we're going to get this in the West yet, but it seems pretty likely by how they've been doing things, is that if they're now going to be 60 minutes and 3 turns, and I think more interestingly, in the overtime, a player must lead by 2 points to win. This is like a pretty big change, right? Like,
Yeah. I can just give so like I would say I'm a TCG veteran. I've been playing in tournaments for probably like 11 or 12 years at this point, mainly in Yu-Gi-Oh, but I played some other ones. I played Argent Saga, I played One Piece. I so our one tournament experience in Houston, obviously I played some like locals, some skirmishes, whatever. Um, in general, time is not a problem, but I think the 5 turns not having a time cap, I don't remember if it was like discussed initially, but some point in the beginning of Riftbound when I played at some locals, it was like 50 minutes plus 5 turns or 10 minutes. And I think putting that 10-minute time cap was really important. Um, Yu-Gi-Oh! At one point had the same thing. It was like I think it was 3 or 5 turns,
mm,
and those. I mean, obviously Yu-Gi-Oh! Very different card game, but like those turns take insanely long. It was effectively like an extra 20, 30, 40 minutes guaranteed. Riftbound, I think theoretically should not take as much time as a game like Yu-Gi-Oh! Obviously, it's a new game. We're also learning like mechanics and efficiency. So, but like you're not shuffling your deck. Like your turns, I think in terms of like playing cards and making things happen, shouldn't take too long from like a technical point. It's just like how much time people are thinking. So I think that needs to speed up. I think if the 5 turns thing is honestly fine, if as long as you put a time cap on it, the 60 like adding 10 minutes and then changing the 3 turns, I don't actually think it's going to speed the game up much. Like you're getting an extra 10 minutes, but like those 3 turns can still just be a decent amount of time. I do really like the overtime change of plus 2 points. It means you're not going to get cheesed out. Um, just by like whatever aggro deck swapping. Like I think uh, like in Pokemon, there's like I think it's like if you don't win the game, it's just like a draw. But in this situation, it's like it's a draw unless you are like in a commanding position, which I think is like a responsible way to adjust it. instead of just like forcing a tie or whatever. So I like the overtime change. I don't think this time change actually fixes like the logistics issue of how long overtime is going to take. Um, you could do like maybe 60 minutes plus like 5 minutes, three turns or whatever. Go to like 55, three turns. I don't know. Like I think 50 minutes is already a reasonable amount of time. But having an additional time limit associated with those extra turns, I think, is kind of paramount if you want to actually speed up the pace of play.
I mean, it's kind of crazy to me in the first place how slow people play in this game because the game doesn't really have that many actions per turn. It's like
Mhm.
2 to 3, and sure, you do have to do some mapping. Like, what do I want to do with my board before I play cards from my hand? Do I push up onto this
Mhm.
battlefield? Am I holding? But it's really kind of incredible how slow I've seen people play, not just in person, but like on streams. And
Yeah.
on these feature matches, like, I'm of the opinion that judges on feature matches should be very aggressive with slow play warnings because this is how the game is being presented to the general audience. And I do not want my game to be presented as this 10 minutes per turn, like slog fest. And I will
Yeah.
give that there are a lot of newer players who have not played TCGs before. They're like, hey, League of Legends is cool. I have some friends getting into this Riftbound thing. I'm going to give it a try. Or you might even have some Runeterra uh, people coming over and giving it a try because, again, a lot of the art's from Runeterra. It's another Riot game, a little bit of crossover. And they might not have had this experience of pace of play, especially when you're used to like an online simulator that handles that for you. But it's really something I expected people to get better with, but I have not seen get better. Like it still feels very slow to me when I sit in person and play with people.
Yeah. I mean, as someone who still plays Yu-Gi-Oh, like that's something that is just like I think a common thing. I've heard Pokemon complain about this consistently. Like I've seen like the chess clock discussion, which I think is just like completely unreasonable for people who play TCGs consistently. Like it's not something that really is gonna work. Um, Obviously, like you want to be playing at a strong pace of play, and unfortunately, like there just aren't enough judges in a lot of tournaments to really like stay close enough to like kind of force those rules through. So I don't know what the correct answer is. I hope over the course of time this game will speed up to a little bit. I think it is. I don't know. Like I think there are definitely are some matchups like we'll say like Aurora Mirrors where like the games take a long time. But again, the actions you're taking in each turn, it's not that many. It's like two, three. In set two, you could justify to me that turns take longer between like the call shot stack deck, like the really turbo draw engine purple deck. Those turns actually take a long time. You're resolving seven, eight cards in a turn between whatever. But on average, like if you're playing a Kaisa deck in set one, your turn is on average three, maybe four actions, maybe five if you count like swinging. But like the pace of play from which I see these players moving their cards around is just like impressively slow. Like taking a minute and whatever 30 seconds a minute at the beginning of your turn to map it out, solid. Like I have no issue with that. I do the same thing. But once like you have that game plan in mind, you need to execute it efficiently and not something changed. Oh no, like now I have to like rethink everything. No, that's what the minute was for. Like that's why I gave you that time. If you're not gonna actually pre-plan and have the ability to move quickly after you think, then you wasted everyone's time. So you need to either be making actions and thinking as you go, or be efficient with your time and then like play your turn out, kind of pre-guessing a lot of the things that could come your way. But like this whole like take time, play, take time, take like play, take time is just completely unreasonable and like is why so many players go into time consistently.
Yeah, and I think something else is the existence of the side deck. I think the side deck really confuses people who are new to TCGs and also people who've not used it before. So like people coming from Pokemon or even these online TCGs, because generally the online TCGs feel like they use the. Do you know what's the name of the format where you have like multiple decks and you just switch the decks?
Conquest or Last Hero Standing.
Yeah, some that seems to be more the norm for these online TCGs for whatever reason. I know you played a little bit of Hearthstone, right? So you had some experience with
Yeah,
that.
those were the two formats. There was at one point a format of online that allowed you to side deck, but in general it was a conquest where you bought three different decks. There was actually a side event in Houston where it was conquest, which was pretty neat. I'd be interested in doing that more in terms of like viability. That's just like really difficult to carry around all the cards for that consistently. But like as like a local thing or like at a premier event side event thing, I think it's pretty neat. Um, So yeah, like the side deck thing. The other thing is like Riftbound and tournament policy allows you to like write notes, so you can literally pre-write your entire side deck plan out before you enter a tournament, have it in your deck box, and just like access it in between games. So like maybe that's not something people have put thought into, but if you're going to a tournament and your expectation is to do well or your goal is to do well, like that is like a really easy way to save yourself 2 to 3 minutes every match. Like you just go through, you look at it. Okay, I take this card in, put this card out, shuffle up, pass it over, and both players have that ability to do that. Like this isn't a one person thing. Like everyone's able to do that. Siding in this game, it's only 8 cards. Should take less than like 2 minutes between shuffling and swapping out. So this will obviously, hopefully, get fixed over the course of time. But again, it's something that people have to be conscious of. Like if you're not thinking about it, like it's pretty easy to get lost in like the time of a game, and you lost 4 minutes siding when you didn't need to.
I mean, that's definitely something people should take advantage of more is pre-planning these things out. Like you know what your matchups are going to be. You should be building your side deck according to what your matchups are. So you should already have a plan of what comes out and what goes in. And if you don't, well, here's your call out to go do that because it'll make your side decking infinitely better if you know what you're siding out and what you're siding in, because then you're siding with intention. It's not just like, oh, I mean, Aurora's a good card. I guess I'll throw a couple thermal beams in my side deck. It's okay. I have X bad cards in my main deck, so that means I ideally want to have X sidable cards that I can swap out for that matchup. And if that's my worst matchup, then I'm going to focus on that one. So just something to keep in mind, especially for people newer to TCGs, is siding with intent is pretty important. I'm sure there are a lot of really good videos out there about side decking and planning out side decking, but that is going to be one of your better tools to win these hard matchups and really show your skill as a deck builder. So, so that kind of wraps up our discussion on the time rules. So the next section is a bit of a fun one. If anybody out there has watched Uncommon Energy, the one of my favorite Pokemon podcasts, we are going to be guess that flavor text. So how this works is I'm going to read, and we're going to alternate this every week, but for now I'm going to be presenting it. So I'm going to read Aaron a flavor text, and he is going to have to guess the card, and he gets one guess, but he has 3 lifelines, and every lifeline he uses, he gets 1 less point. So if he guesses it without a lifeline, 3 points, 1 lifeline, 2, etc. Sorry, 4 points, because you still get 1 if you use all 3 lifelines. So, all right, so I have a card for you, and see, this is so hard because
camera screen. I'm not looking anything up. We're all good.
I never look at the flavor text of cards. I know this is so silly because they're written there for a reason, right? Like we know League lore somewhat, so I did pick one that maybe you might not know. So, anyways, all right. So sorry, I didn't mention what the flavor text is, or sorry, what the lifelines are. So we have the color of the card, and so Aaron can ask for these in whichever order he wants. So the color of the card, the cost of the card, but he only gets to ask for the energy or the power costs, and then the type of the card. So a unit, a gear, or a spell. Or do legends have? I don't think legends have flavor text, do they? I don't know.
I don't think so. Champions do. I don't think the leaders do.
Okay. All right. So your flavor text is going to be: do we want to be safe or free? The choice is ours.
Is this set 1 or before we get going? Is this including set 2 as well? Or
this is including set 2. This is including Spiritforged.
Okay. Bro, I don't look at flavor text. I am so screwed.
Yeah, me neither.
Like, if this should be perfect for like a sealed person. Like, I'm going to get destroyed in this game. Okay, so say it again.
Okay, so keep in mind that generally the flavor text has something to do with like the characters, right? So if you can like think about what you know about the League of Legends lore. Okay, so do we want to be safe or free? The choice is ours.
Safe or free? So I think this is like a Shurima thing. Like my first thought is like Sivir. I don't know too much. I'm going to need the color of the card.
Okay, so the color of the card is green actually. So Sivir totally.
Okay, so safe or free. If it's Shurima, Azir technically still counts for it.
Yes.
Safe or free? And I don't even.
Think about
I
the
don't know league lore
regions.
like that. Like if it's not arcane, bro, like I'm gonna be cooked.
Think about the regions. Think about the regions. Do you know like the
I mean, like there's Ionia,
okay.
like there's Noxus, Demacia. This could be like a Demacia thing, surely, right? Um,
Okay.
yeah, this sounds like Demacia. Um, give me the cost.
Okay, do you want the power or the
The
energy?
energy.
Okay, 5 energy.
5 energy green. It's not Yi.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know the card pool. Like I don't play sealed. I only have started playing with like Kaisa and Victor. Like I'm so screwed.
I gave you a bit of a softball for this first one. Don't worry.
I know that's why I'm screwed.
So
It's gonna look really bad when I don't get this one. I think the Lee Sin is also a 5. Save for free. I don't know what even Lee Sin region he's in. I am going to guess there's a 5 cost Garen. And
okay,
go with that.
final answer.
Yeah, it's Garen.
Okay, so Garen is orange yellow. Just so we're
What am I thinking of?
okay.
I
Well,
guess I'm thinking of Yi or something. Alright, I'm just awful. What is it?
all right. Here you go. Here's our answer for
Oh,
so
sure.
Aurelia. And so the reason I was telling you to think about the region is Ionia is like the Japanese region, and part
Mm-hmm.
of the lore has them like fighting against Noxus and stuff, and they're the more artsy and introspective region or whatever, whereas Noxus is like the war machine.
Yeah, I know
So
that's the war one. That's
yeah.
all I got.
So all right. So Aaron gets
Whatever.
0 points.
I'm
Perfect
going
for
awful. I'm
me.
just gonna have to stump you on all of my guesses. That's the only way I'm gonna get it.
It's probably gonna be pretty
I'm
bad.
gonna play a defensive game where I win 1-0 at the end. It's not like a high scoring Golden State Warriors game. This is
Oh my
defense with
gosh.
championships.
Yeah, and it's gonna be bad for me because I'm like you. I never read flavor text. But now,
You have a
okay.
reason to.
I'm not gonna game the system. I'm not gonna like go ahead and look at them all. But I'm gonna keep it in mind when I'm looking at stuff. I'm gonna be like, okay,
Yeah, when you opening set 2, you're gonna start reading a little bit.
yeah, about that. I still have not found a pre-order. I got into 0 release events. Did you get into any release events?
I didn't even try.
Okay, yeah, it's looking rough. It's looking rough out there for Spiritforged boys. But you actually got a ticket to Vegas, right?
Yeah, I do. I
Okay.
will hopefully find cards by then. Um, if I, yeah, like we'll just see how it goes. Like I luckily was able to borrow a deck for Houston. I'll pick one up for Vegas if I need to, but we will just. I mean, I've been playing a fair bit. I'm looking forward to it. I think set 2 is interesting, and I'm going to have a good time. I don't like the city of Vegas, but we'll have fun playing cards at a minimum.
Do you have any early insights on what deck you might bring? And you don't have to give the secret. Like if you got some secret goo, by all means keep it to yourself. But any early insights on what you might like to play?
I mean, like I said, the 3 decks I've been playing are Draven, Kaisa, Victor. I like all of them for different reasons. Draven, I think, is just the strongest deck. I think it does have like some concerns in terms of just how you can counter it. Like I said, like if you play against Victor's, like Victor's pretty hard to beat as Draven. Victor, I think if I had to pick a deck like right now, I'd probably play Victor. It's just a deck that I've played a fair amount in set 1. I kind of like the gameplay of it, and then Kaisa I'm just like the most familiar with. So I think all of them have their strengths and disadvantages. Like a sleeper pick for me, I want to try the Misfortune deck and not Aurora. Like I want to like look at like the mid range orange purple. That's actually what I'm gonna do probably later today or tomorrow, and see how that kind of pans out. But those 3 I think are just strong decks, hard to mess up in terms of like picking a deck for the event. And I like Victor like just like the champion and the gameplay. So if I had to pick, that's what I do right now.
Yeah, I like the Victor deck too because it feels like it's one of the decks that has a playable Draven matchup. I guess we'll see if
It does. Yeah,
builds
it's
it.
one of like if any deck has a winning Draven matchup, as of right now, I would pick Victor as one of them.
Cool. Okay, so our last topic of the day, and usually we would do some sort of prediction or metagame analysis, but we really haven't started the Spirit Forge season yet. As far as I'm aware, I don't even think there's been a Chinese regional yet. Am I wrong?
The first one is well, I think I said it on the time article. I think it was the 16th, maybe or 17th.
Okay, well, we
I think
can
that's
do
the
a
first big
prediction
one.
then. We can because we are doing these at least as of right now. These episodes are going to be bi-weekly, so every other week. So predictions for the next for the first Chinese regional. What? So the first prediction: what deck do you think wins? I'll let you go first.
I mean, Draven is the safe guess in China in set one at least. Like we saw Kaisa be dominant both participation, representation in Top Cut, and then also in like the winner circle. So I think the Chinese meta also I'm not sure if they adjusted it, but from what I heard in set one there was no metal card playoff, so there's like less incentive to bring off meta strategies outside of like you think it's good. Um, my personal pick would be just Draven. I think it just performed too well. A lot of strong players are playing it, so that would be just like the easy guess for me, obviously.
Okay, so my guess is going
You're guessing
to.
Aurelia.
I'll I actually do think it is going to be Aurelia, and not because Draven is not the best deck, because I do think Draven is the best deck, but I think it seems like something that China would gravitate towards. Like they like their kind of gimmicky stuff from what I've seen, and that is like peak gimmick right there. Like don't get me wrong, it works, right? Like it's not like
No,
a gimmick that doesn't work.
it's a good deck. Like it's
But
like I mean, if you've just kind of like if you've watched any kind of like Spiritforged like set two reveal content, you are familiar with like the cards in set one, like purple I think is the strongest color in the game, and you could comp like red or maybe something else to it, but like I think purple on its own, like standalone, just the best color. It has consistency, it has a counter spell, it has battle tricks, like it has strong units in the form of like purple Ezreal and like six Cross Draven and Treasure Hunter, like all those cards above average, just very strong. Like yeah, like it's any deck playing purple, I think, is like probably the correct choice to pick for an early win in Spiritforged.
so one I would like to do, but I don't quite know the Chinese player base well enough, and we've only had one set, is I would like to make a prediction on a player that would top. So we're gonna skip that one for now until we know the player pool a little bit better.
I don't know players, but I followed a bit of like the winners. There's a team that is I think AI like is what their like sign is. Those guys have just been smoking every city challenge with Draven. So if I'm picking Draven to win, their player name is gonna have AI in the front. Like they've all
Okay.
performed very well. So
Okay, good to
that's the
know.
only insight I've got.
Okay, next prediction is see, this is such a softball because we just said, but what color is going to be the most represented in Top Cut? And I think it's an easy purple for me, but
Yeah, it's purple. Like
okay.
yeah, Draven Aurelia. If you're playing Aurora Misfortune, like there's just so many easy ways to play purple. Like even like if you look at red, like there's Draven, Kaisa, Annie potentially. I mean there's Rek'Sai as well. Like it wouldn't surprise me if red does it, but like even if a deck like Sivir or Ezreal sneak in, like purple is just so easy to like identify. So I'm just gonna go with purple.
Okay. And the last one, since we don't have player specific ones, is what card will be the most represented in Top Cut? So specific, what card will have the most copies of it?
Most tops. What's so I assume like it's like copies of a card. So if like
Correct.
Kaisa's at okay. Stack deck is probably the easy one. I think every purple deck plays that card. If I was gonna pick a non-purple card, I think Kaisa could be it.
You think?
No,
Okay.
it's just like it'd be Falling Star. No, it just
Okay.
that's so dumb.
Okay.
Like, so yeah, I'm gonna go with stack deck, but if it's gonna be something that's not stack deck, I think Falling Star is probably second.
All right. Well, my answer is different. I think it's going to be Treasure Hunter. I think Treasure Hunter is the best card of the set. And I think that almost every deck wants to play 2-drops. And Treasure Hunter is like the easiest 2-drop to say auto include because the value that it generates is so insane. And I don't know. I think it's insane. So, anyways, that wraps up. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say the counter to that is Ezreal plays stack deck and not Treasure Hunter. So if any Ezreal are in there,
That's true.
I may win. So we'll see.
Shout outs to all of our Ezreal players. Our friend Mitchell has been trying to make this deck work for ages and still sucks. Crazy. Anyways.
That's just a him problem, unfortunately.
True skill issue. All right, so last topic for the day is we wanted to have a quick discussion on. So Riot put out an article about why they made Riftbound and who it was for. And I thought this was really interesting because this was not my impression at all when I first played this game. Is essentially what they said is Riot is made for League fans, not TCG players, and is meant to grow without kind of grabbing people from other games. And I think it's really interesting because this game is not easy. In fact, this is one of the hardest card games I've played solely because you have to manage so many things and you have that limited mana pool and you have to manage your mana pool and not only like how much do you use, how much do you leave up, is it worth deramping yourself right now? The deck building is not super easy. It's just the game is not easy, so it's very interesting for me that they say that the game is not made for TCG players, because to me it feels like a love letter to the TCG players, because it takes everything good I like about other games and then kind of combines it in one.
Yeah, I understand. I think like the goal, right? Like the League of Legends IP is one of, if not the biggest in the world right now in terms of like esports representation and just like overall gameplay. Like TFT is very large in terms of like the auto chess world. So I think that like this should be their goal, right? As a company, is they want to make this game as big as possible. Um, and I think like the entry level rules of the game are kind of simple. The issue is, I think, pretty quickly once you get into like the rulings aren't always intuitive. Um, like you said, like once you start trying to learn the game and play it well, understanding how to like resource manage and do all that like with power, I think is a little unintuitive as well. So I don't know. Like I understand the premise. Like they should just want the game to be as big as possible. One of the things they mentioned in this article is like they're learning how to distribute because they liked Runeterra, but now that they're trying to put it in paper, they have to deal with distribution, which is something that they're new to. And as of right now, like you said, like there just aren't enough set to uh, release events in rotation, and trying to pre-order product is very difficult. So maybe at some point they'll make like a really big casual push to like get product more accessible. I think Seal is a really big way to do casuals where you don't have to show up with a pre-con, like you just show up and play. Um, I haven't played the 2v2 format, but from what I've heard, it's really actually not that bad and pretty fun. So I think they are doing a lot of things to appeal to the casual audience. But the game is also, I think, it has enough depth and it's complex enough and it's honestly fun enough and like recognizable for like League fans that if they want to transition to a more competitive environment, that I think it fills both roles rather well. But right now, I think the product accessibility is like the number one issue with it.
Yeah, I can actually say a little bit on the casual side, as I have always been a competitive player. I've never really had interest in casual play, and you knew this. That being
We both are.
said, I have a D&D night on Tuesdays, and the last 2 weeks, one of our players, or the last, is it last two? It's like two out of the last three times one of our players has no-showed for whatever reason. Shoutouts to Riley. You need to show up to the things you commit to. But anyways, so we've had someone not show, and we still wanted to do something instead of just kind of sitting around and or like essentially doing a session without him, which feels pretty bad. So I was like, hey, do you guys want to learn Riftbound? And I intended to just play 1v1s with them. Like here's how we play. And they're like, sure. And then we ended up playing free for all. So 4-person free for all. And we played it once, and I expected, okay, that'll be the end of it. Like it was kind of fun, like, but more of a party thing. But then this
Yeah,
last week, we did it again. Like our guy didn't show up, and then my friend was like, "Hey, can we play the Riftbound game again?" And I was like, "Oh, okay. I mean, that's cool." So
yeah,
apparently, the free for all is pretty fun, even for people who don't play the game. And I enjoyed playing the game with my friends. I don't really care what I'm playing, to be honest. I'll play
yeah.
Magic. I'll play whatever. So it was very cool to see people who didn't play the game, who had played other card games, want to play like the free for all tabletop version again. And I just gave them decks, obviously, and they kind of picked
Mhm.
it up and they had their choice. And this is something Aaron knew is I have most of the set one decks because we were doing a lot of testing for Houston, and so that gave them a fairly large pool of decks to choose from. So we were all able to kind of mix and match and go, hey, that was cool. I'll try that again. So yeah, pretty cool experience, and does show that the casual tabletop environment does actually seem to have some success. Um,
Yeah, I think the game has a lot of good and like so the IP makes the game like visible, and like the game has like a fair amount of good like casual like draws. Like the metal card promo, obviously competitive people are going to, I think in general, dominate, but like maybe there's a one trick who like lives in Vegas and is able to just like pull off a metal carbon with Garen because it's like a low turnout deck. So I think it has positives to it. Like they're definitely making these shows accessible. They've got like the world stuff to like bring more eyes to Riftbound. So I think they're doing a lot of the right things. I really hope that they do still maintain like the competitive like this like landscape. It's a really fun game. I think the game is well designed. It's enjoyable. We'll see if they're able to improve the registration process. We can talk about that in a future episode. But as of right now, like by the amount of people that I see discussing it on Twitter and content creators and by how quickly the game is selling out, like I think it is appealing to both sides. Between the competitive having thousands of people trying to get tickets, and then the competitive or the casual still showing up to do whatever, like the side events and sealed and whatever. So I think it's got a strong start. We'll see if they're able to maintain this trajectory and keep the pace going.
For sure. Well, that pretty much wraps up our episode for today. So, again, if you liked the episode, make sure to subscribe. We'll be posting, as of right now, it's bi weekly. That might change to weekly in the future, especially as Spiritforged comes out and there's more to talk about with Vegas and Bologna. And is it Sydney? Have they said where the Australia one is yet?
Uh,
I want to say
Europe,
it's
North
Sydney.
America, Australia. No, so there's another one in Europe in April 26th. Same for North America, and then Australia is May of 26th.
Okay. Okay. So there is a lot more to look forward to. And so make sure you subscribe. Check out Aaron's channel. I will be posting the follow the Twitter, which I will put in the description. And I should probably put that on this overlay. But the Twitter, where I will be posting when we have new episodes. If you have any questions that you or topics you want us to discuss, feel free to message the Twitter or one of us. It's always something we can consider. Do you have any last thoughts, Aaron?
No, I mean, I do the same thing for Yu-Gi-Oh! I enjoy yapping about my hobbies and the games I love, so as long as I enjoy this game, I'm gonna keep doing this and following the competitive scene. So looking forward to it. It's a pleasure as always, and yeah, let's do it.
Excellent. Well, thank you guys so much and have a great rest of your weekend.